eBayers. It's Suzanne A. Wells, and thank you for tuning into another episode of eBay the Right Way. Today is September the 8th, 2021, and this is episode number 25. I have a guest this week who is also a longtime eBay friend. We crossed paths in 2008, so long time ago, and we've seen a lot of changes in the reselling world. My guest is Suzanne Keene, and we joke that we're like long lost sisters because we spell our name the same way, and we were both Alpha Chi Omegas at different colleges around the same time. So those were some fun coincidences. But she has a thriving eBay business and has a lot of wisdom to share. So we will go ahead and get into that interview now. Okay, we have Suzanne Keene, who is in Texas. Tell us how you started eBay, what happened, and why you got into it.
I have been selling online since 2008. I started just trying to reduce my own book collection, and it was a way for me to just earn a little bit of money for my family for vacations and little extras and things like that. So it was just a fun little hobby. I was working full time in the corporate world. I've worked in corporate communications for about 26 years, a long career in the corporate world. In 2015, the company that I was working for was undergoing bankruptcy proceedings, and I took a voluntary severance package to step away. At that time, my father had suffered a stroke, and my plan was to take a few months off and help my mother care for my father. The plans kind of took a turn when we lost our oldest daughter that December, and it was devastating for our family. And so I knew that I couldn't go back to full-time work, and I needed some time to grieve, to serve my family. And so I decided to jump into eBay full-time. It had been a fun hobby for me, and my husband and I had been on eBay as buyers since 1997 when it first started.
Oh, and really?
We always loved eBay and bought a lot of things for our home, and just enjoyed the whole process of buying and the auction process back in the day. So I jumped into reselling full time after the loss of my daughter, and it was it was wonderful for me. Just those repetitive tasks that we all do as resellers, finding items to sell, cleaning them, taking the pictures, doing the listing. That was really good for me in my healing time. It was just something I could do and be productive. I say with tears in my eyes, I don't know of any other employer who would let you just be a mess every day with tears streaming down your face. But it made me feel better and helped me heal to just take those steps forward. And some days I got 2 listings done, and some days I got 25, but slowly, I built it up, and now I have an eBay store that's got 3,600 listings and thousands of sales.
Good for you.
That's where I am. And I just love it every day, the learning and the research, and that's probably my favorite part, is just the learning and the building on it every single day, slowly but surely.
It never gets boring.
It never gets boring. And I love that.
Well, and, last year I suffered a loss too. And although losing a child that's a different category completely. But, I hear this a lot, and I experienced it last year, was just, even if you just sit down for 30 minutes, you're thinking about something else, you're doing something else. And I would just say, I'm going to do something for 30 minutes. And because when you're grieving and it's new, you almost feel guilty if you're not grieving. Like you don't feel like you deserve to do something enjoyable. You feel like you have to be loyal to the person and be thinking about them and grieving. And it takes a long time to let that go. Everybody's time frame is different, but to where you can actually get back to doing things you enjoy because you feel so guilty about it.
Yes. And I think, a lot of people listening, I'm sure can relate. Grief, we talk a lot about the emotional parts of grief, but it's physical, and it's emotional, it's mental. It affects you in so many ways. And I had no idea about that. And I'm sure that you experienced that too with your sudden and traumatic, it's traumatic loss. But it would be very difficult. And my heart goes out to all the people that have returned to work right after a major loss of a parent, or even, people lose a pet, and that can be devastating to them. So having to, we all bring something, our hurts and our experiences throughout our life to our eBay jobs. I think it makes us better resellers because you're more human. You realize that people are people.
Yeah.
We're all dealing with something.
And it's like I've gotten email messages in the past from people that have bought things. The one that stands out is this lady who bought some men's cologne or aftershave. And she said that she bought it for her husband who was in stage cancer, and he just didn't want to smell that. He wanted to smell good for visitors. And things like that it may be such a small thing to you. I found this for $3 at Goodwill and somebody, but it just means the world to them. And until you go through something like that, you don't realize what an important part we play, especially if you're selling, vintage items for nostalgia or something that is a memory. My loved one gave me these books that I couldn't find. I moved a couple times and I couldn't find them. And they're Robert Sexton, they're poems, and they're just beautiful. And I went on eBay and I bought them again. And I'm like, I just want to have these to remember that he gave this to me, even though I can't find them right now. And, they were just a couple of dollars, but, it's just stuff like that. And you have a double whammy because you were also a caregiver.
Yes.
Help, even if it's just helping out your mom. That's, and eBay provides just a welcome distraction from all of that, heaviness of all the serious stuff you're dealing with.
Right. And it was, there's so many great things about selling on eBay, but one of the other things that I loved was that I could sit by my father's bedside. He was at home for a long time, but then he got to where my mother couldn't care for him completely alone. He needed some more help. So he was in a nursing home for about a year, and I could sit by his bedside and list things on eBay. So while he was sleeping or, in therapy, going to physical therapy or whatever, I would sit in the chair next to his bed and list things on eBay, take all my pictures, do my research, and then sit and create listings and answer, questions from buyers. People, you could be anywhere in the world. My youngest daughter went to college away out of state from us, and I would go and visit her often, or just when she needed me. And I could work anywhere, and I love that. So I don't know of any employer who would, of course, I worked for some great companies and some wonderful people, and I know they would be understanding of that situation. But of all the times I had to drop everything and go be with my parents or go be with my daughter, I don't know that an employer would be patient for so many years because it went on,
exactly.
It went on for several years.
It's like if you're having a day where it's just very heavy, and you're just, I just gotta go outside and take a walk. For me, it's I gotta go jump in the pool. It does something energetically, or even just go take a shower, just to reset yourself. And, you can't do that at a regular job. You can't say, you know what,
Absolutely.
I need a mental break, an emotional break. I need to get outside and see the sky and walk around. And,
Hmm.
you can do that with eBay. You can go back and forth. And what you said about, taking the pictures, I do that at home. I do my pictures in one room, and then I write everything down, like the measurements and the weight. And then I go in the family room and I sit on the couch and do my listings while I'm watching whatever show I want to watch.
Yep.
So
Do the
it's,
same thing.
I've done that where I've, taken it on vacation. I have all these listings written down of what I'm going to list when I get
Hmm.
15, 30 minutes a day. So you can jump on and do that, but you can do the prep work ahead of time. And a lot of people
Absolutely.
think, oh, I have to carry all this with me. And how am I going to take pictures when I'm, stay in this log cabin for a week? No, you just write it all down and take it with you.
Right. I did that. I have piles of those cheap spiral notebooks, like the kids use in school. And I'll buy those when they're on sale at back to school time. And
Mhm.
would just write all my notes down and take that with me in a bag with my iPad or my laptop to my father's nursing home and sit there and do lists all day. And
Mhm.
it was great. So love that.
Well, and then you don't feel like you're just sitting there doing nothing. I mean,
Exactly.
obviously you're being supportive and,
Hmm.
holding his hand and talking with him. But,
Right.
there's times that it's just dead time, and you just like, you could read a book, it's whatever you want to do during that time. But that's very industrious to,
Yes,
do something that you're focused on, that sort of shifts everything.
exactly.
Yeah, it's a
Exactly.
welcome distraction. So you said something funny about your mom a few weeks ago.
Yes,
You bought her her own BOLO book so that she could
I
help
did.
you find things. And I mean, I just laughed so hard when you said that your mom's house is like an archaeological dig.
Absolutely. And my mother comes from a long line of pickers. I think I shared that too. She's both of her brothers were auctioneers, and her mother was an antique dealer. My grandmother and her sister had an antique store for a time. So um, I remember as a kid, just when we would go to visit relatives, that we'd be in some dusty warehouse, full of stuff that my uncle was going to sell, or in my grandmother's antique store. And it was, as a child, you think all of that is so boring. So it's just, we laugh all the time, my mother and I, that now I'm the one selling junk. And so
It's
we
funny you
have a
say
really
that.
great.
My friend that I travel with and hang out with a lot, my friend from high school, she grew up around what I called artifacts. Everything was
Mhm.
old. It was the old, it's a stack of old books with the old glasses on top and just all these things. And she's like, yeah, I grew up in a museum. You sound kind of like that.
Yes, they have. So there's a lot of interesting. My mother is, she loves to shop. She's been a bargain shopper her whole life, and just enjoys it. And she has a lot of interesting things and a really amazing eye for unusual but valuable things. So she has a lot of great stuff in her house, and will give me things to sell. And she loves to hear what they sold for, or what other people are selling, the different bolos that people share. She loves to hear about that. So that's why I bought her the book. So because the pictures are really big and the print is big. So my mom's 85, so she needs, something she can read and look at. And she immediately found stuff, hey, I've got something on this page, and I think I've got this other thing in the closet, and I'll dig it all out for
I
you.
never even thought about that angle of like people could use this to jog their memory about what they already have.
Yes.
Because you just, you're going shopping in your own house.
Yes, exactly. And she's, years and years of accumulation there that we need to continue to downsize for her. Um, but she enjoys shopping with me too. So we've taken trips together and gone to thrift stores, or just when I go, she lives about an hour away from me. And when I go and spend the day with her, a lot of the time we'll go shopping together, and she'll find stuff in the thrift store and she'll say, what about this? And I'll look at it and I'll be like, Mom, like, I don't even know what it is, and I'm looking at it going, Mom, no. And then I'll do a quick Google search, I'll find a sticker on it or a brand name, and I'll look at it and I'll go, oh yeah, I get that. So sometimes Mom knows things that I don't even know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, bless her, because she is okay with letting some things go. She's letting you sell some things. So, but if she's still shopping, then it's just getting replaced. But but a lot of people that age, they just don't want to let anything go. And it's really difficult in later years when you have so much accumulation to deal with later.
We do. We have that problem too, but we just we focus on the things that she does want to let go. So that's
absolutely
how we do it. Is when she's ready to thin her collection of something, then I'm more than happy to help her out with that and sell it. So,
do you have any like right off the top of your head, things that you found just buried away in her house that were surprising sales?
Yes. One of the things that stands out, which is one of my highest selling items ever on eBay, was a pair of vintage Levi's that we found in her house. And they were from a relative who had passed away. We knew they were his because his name was written in the waistband. Mm-hmm. His wife wore starched Levi's, they'd send them to the cleaners and have them starched and creased,
with the crease down the front. Yep.
But they were old, and my mom and my sister brought them to me and said, do you think these would sell? We think these are old. And I start looking at them, and they're the Big E Levi's, and they had the hidden rivets on the inside, and they were in great shape. They were faded a little bit, but no holes or anything like that. And I did all my research, every website that I could find about old Big E Levi's and how to tell where they were from, mm-hmm. and was able to figure out that they were from the early 60s. Mm-hmm. So I did an auction on those Levi's. I hardly ever do auctions, but I thought, well, this is the time, Mm-hmm. And I think that I only had one or two people that were interested in them, but they did sell for almost $1,000. The person that bought them is in San Francisco, and I Googled him, of course, and he is a vintage clothing reseller. So I'm sure that he had a buyer in Asia or something like that was going to buy them from him. Mm-hmm. But that free pair of Levi's I sold for about $1,000. And then I'm sure he's going to turn around and sell them to somebody, some contacts that he has overseas, in Japan or somewhere else that'll buy those. So that was a lot of fun to find those and to figure out what they were. And I really took my time. I think it took me about 2 weeks to fully research them and find all the different markers of when they were made and where they were made. But that was tons of fun.
That's an amazing sale. Isn't Levi's out of San Francisco? Isn't that where they originated? Uh-huh. I came mm-hmm. across a documentary like on PBS or YouTube, and how things get suggested. Oh, you might like this.
Yes.
It was all about the beginnings of Levi's, and it was very interesting as far mm-hmm. as, what they were trying to do and the need for that type of product. And it was really interesting. So I hear you on the research part. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm just a research geek because I want to know way more than I need to know to sell this item. But, you're already in it, so you might as well learn what you can learn.
Yes, that's my favorite part. The shopping and all of that is fun. But the research is truly my number one favorite part of the job. So love it.
Yeah, because it's like a discovery. You just mm-hmm. you get the item, you bring it home, and then you start digging in, and you're like, oh, that's fascinating. That's so interesting. Yeah, the history.
Mm-hmm.
So you started off with books because isn't your eBay name something OP Books?
It is. And that was, when I started selling books, I started to make enough income that I needed to, when you're just selling your own stuff, for a while you can, and I don't give tax advice either, but you can sort of get away with not really worrying about
Right.
but it got to be a real income, So I had to, my accountant and I sat down and talked about it. And then I registered as a business. I still operate as a sole proprietor, but I registered as a business and I had to come up with a name. So OP Books, the little town I live in is Oak Point. And so I just did OP Books. And then when I started selling other things, it's like, oh no, now what do I do? So I just added and treasures. One of the things I've been thinking a lot about is rebranding my business. So I may do that in the next year or so. I may come up with another name. I don't think it makes all that much difference to the buyer. And you're proof of that, Atlanta Golf Shop, and you sell all kinds of stuff. So
after you've been in it for a while and your name is out there for SEO and stuff, you don't really want to change it,
right.
And that happens to a lot of people. So, and I'm trying to remember when we crossed paths at first, because you sold on Amazon too, right?
Yes, that's where I started. And I think it was I started selling books around 2008. And I think it was 2009 or 2010 when I started to get curious about selling other things. And I actually bought some of your courses and some of your books.
Yeah, because I kept seeing your email pop up. I'm like, what's this OP Books? Because I know people by their email.
Yes.
And
so
I'm like,
I bought quite a few of your courses.
Yes, you did. And I appreciate that. you were like one of the first people to buy something when I would come up with something new. And, is like, that a handful of people would just be right on it as soon as I did a new course or a new thing. So I was like, they're very interested in learning the new stuff.
Yes. And that was back, there wasn't a whole lot out there about learning how to do eBay. And that was long before everybody was on YouTube and had podcasts. This was just, you had to order the course and, download it and read it at home, which was fine.
Yeah. And that was the thing was, I never set out to be like a mentor or anything. It's just, I would learn something and people would ask me, well, how do you do that? Well, what's that all about? And many people would ask, and it was just easier to put it all together than to just keep answering emails all the time. It's like, I just need to make a course on this. So, that's how it evolved. I never set out like some of these people these days that just, they go on YouTube and they've been selling for a month and they're going to give you all this advice. And it's like, yeah, but you haven't been in the game long enough really to be giving advice yet.
Right. That's true. It's true.
And then I modeled my business after this girl on YouTube. Her channel is called Cherry Vintage, and she would do lessons. Do you remember her?
No, I don't know if I ever watched that.
And then Mad Maine is this lady up in Maine.
Yes.
She stopped doing videos, but she would do like a lesson, like, here's this glass thing. And I think she was from like Sweden or Norway or somewhere like that. And she had all this knowledge of very specific collectibles because of where it's from. And I just loved those channels because you learned something. They would take an item and teach you about it, and here's what to look for, and it has this gold thing right here, and they got very into it, almost like Antiques Roadshow, where they talk about the items. And so I was like, yeah, we need more of that.
Absolutely, we still do.
People how to see, because you're out there looking at this stuff all day, but even me, I get overwhelmed. I don't want to look everything up. I would just like to have a huge knowledge base.
Yes. And those are still my favorite videos. There's just a few people who do that, so much of what's on YouTube. And I'm sure there are tons of people who love it, or the shopping videos or the haul videos, or people who are just driving around in their car and talking to you, and they get a lot of viewers. So obviously there's a need for that too. But for me, I enjoy the people who are going to show and tell and kind of teach you something about the item and give you some reasons why you should be looking for it, why you should be selling it. And people who actually read the rules on eBay, and you teach eBay the right way, which I appreciate because you've actually done your homework and looked it up. Whereas a lot of people will just off the top of their head, here's how you deal with this situation, but they don't do the research to see if that's actually eBay policy or the proper procedure. It's just, they're just talking off the top of their head,
Well, and you got me started on eyeglasses because you were posting those on the Money Making Mondays. And I'm like, what? She's selling eyeglasses? So I started looking into it and I'm like, I need to make a course on this because there's so much to talk about, like the numbers and what they mean and, all that kind of stuff. And how did you get started with that? Did you just say, oh, I'm going to throw these on there and see what happens?
Well, like everybody, and I think we all, as resellers, we all want to sell things that are small and easy to ship and easy to store. Right. I still sell big stuff too, and breakables and all kinds of things. But in my quest to find small things, I had done some research and found a few resellers who were selling eyeglasses. And I thought, there's always that bucket of eyeglasses at the thrift store.
Yeah. And nobody's looking at them.
They're always like $1.99, at the most. And so I started looking into it, doing my research and finding a few people who were selling it and figuring out, well, how can they sell those? Because they have the prescription lens.
Yeah.
So what do you do? But they're selling the frame. They're not selling the prescription because you, number one, you're not an ophthalmologist and you don't know what the prescription is.
Right.
You couldn't tell somebody what it was, even if you could figure it out. But they're small and they're lightweight. And I've worn glasses since I was in kindergarten. So they're expensive to buy.
Me too.
So people are looking for a way to save money, and that's a great way to do it. And glasses are so fashionable now. People like to have 2 or 3 pair, different colors and different shapes. And so if they can have a pair that's that they got inexpensively and just put their own lenses in, then that's a great service to people.
Well, and I know I've sold some for like props, wardrobe, whatever you want to call it, because the ones that are like Napoleon Dynamite, the aviator, I sell them all the time. And I'm like,
me too.
Or maybe they're just doing like a throwback or, for like a Halloween costume or something, all these very specific styles that, you think, well, nobody's going to wear that now. It doesn't matter. People wear them for all kinds of reasons.
They do. And it's just a fun, and I've got a filing cabinet next to me that's like a card catalog. And that's where I store all of my flatware and all of my eyeglasses. And they're the easiest thing in the world to ship and to, they're so lightweight. I mean, I think the package is always less than 3 ounces.
Yeah, it's about 3. And you can get the hard shell cases at the dollar store. I pick them up at Goodwill too, but they're cheaper at the dollar store. And I just put them in that case and then put them in a padded mailer just for a little extra layer, and never had a problem.
Never had a problem either. I think I've had one return on eyeglasses over the years. Somebody just didn't want them, but they came back just pristine. So no problems. It's not like clothing. It's, you worry about somebody wearing it to an event or something. So even if they tried the glasses on, didn't like them, and then sent them back, all you do is wipe them off and put them back in your inventory. So,
and I think some people are like replacing, their favorite ones that broke and they can't find them new. So they just go and get that same frame. I also think that it's one of those items like, you're doing a house clean out, an estate sale thing, and it's just all the junk in the office desk that they don't know what to do with, and they just dump it in the bag and it goes to the thrift store. And you can donate them to the Lions Club and all that kind of stuff, but I think people I've helped with house clean outs, and I think people just get like, they just want it to be over, and they're just dumping stuff in bags just to get finished, because it's
Absolutely.
such a long process. And there's so many little itty bitty things that, after days of doing it or weeks, it's like, okay, let's just dump all this. So,
Exactly.
and that's what ends up in the thrift stores. And it's like,
Yes.
maybe they didn't know what it was worth, or they don't care. They just want their job to be over and get back to their life.
Yes, that's true. That's how it all ends up there.
Yeah. So you started off with books. Do you have any
Yes.
outstanding book sales, memorable ones to share?
One of the funniest ones was when I first started selling books. My husband was laughing about it with some coworkers, and he works for a large defense contractor here in Texas. And so he's an engineer, and all of his coworkers are engineers. He's laughing with someone about me selling books online, and haha, she made $40 off of this book. Isn't that cute? And he has a friend who was retiring and was packaging up his office, and he reaches over to his bookshelf and says, maybe she can sell this. And he gives him this big book. So my husband brings the book home, and I look it up, and this book is worth, $150. So I hurriedly go on, throw it on Amazon, and it sold overnight, I think, for $140 or something like that.
Wow.
And I told my husband, he actually felt guilty about that because the guy had given it to him. And I said, well, take him to lunch. If you want to do something for him, take him to lunch. But obviously he didn't want it anymore, and he just freely gave it to you. He didn't ask for anything in return. So that was really funny. And that's what got me hooked on looking at books. And we had always gone to estate sales and garage sales and things like that. So I would take a minute to look over the books and see what I can find that was unusual or valuable. And I still sell a lot of books, but mostly Bibles and religious books, and cookbooks is a favorite of mine too. So I still do that. And they sell very well on eBay and Facebook and Mercari, all the different places that I sell, and Etsy especially. So,
and you're not scanning them with it. You're just using your own knowledge.
I do scan if they're modern, but most, the vast majority of books you're going to find in a thrift store or anywhere else are not going to be worth anything at all.
Right.
I have done a little bit of consignment, and one of my consignment clients was a huge collection of books, but they're all alternative medicine and Eastern medicine. Mm-hmm. So on topics like, acupuncture and different herbs for healing and things like that. And then all kinds of alternative healing practices like Reiki and massage and just all kinds of stuff. And she had some very unusual books that were hard to find. And so just from doing her huge collection, I've gained a little bit of knowledge in that area too. So I will look at the spiritual and alternative healing books if I see them.
Yeah, I think the more out of the mainstream it is, the better your chances of selling it for a good price. It's absolutely the stuff that's stacked 15 high at Costco and Walmart isn't going to be worth anything. It's exactly. And that was my experience too, because I did books for 2 years. I partnered with a thrift store that got, when Borders went out of business, Borders donated thousands, it was 10,000 books to this thrift store. And I partnered with them, and I had all these books in my basement. And that's how I learned. So it took 2 or 3 years to get all those sold. But, the more unusual, like, how to build your own canoe, or, anything that had to do with like living off the grid, doing stuff yourself. Those, what are they, Foxfire or Firefox books about living in the Appalachian Mountains, and it wasn't like what I thought it would be. It was completely like, 101 blueberry recipes for diabetics,
Very specific.
topics of
Yes.
like, it wasn't the mainstream stuff.
No. I just, in talking about that unusual, just this morning sold a book on horse massage. Okay.
My first pop-up book last week. And
Yes.
that's something that I've started to look at, because the children's books are $1, hardback or softback.
Yes.
And you can tell when you're looking at them, they're thicker, and you can look down from the top and see the folded things that pop up. And I sold it for $30. It went to New Zealand, and she paid $24 to have it shipped there.
Yes. I sold a pop-up book too. Same thing. I was at the bookstore and noticed one because I do also sell collections of children's books. There's a few that I have sold over and over again that always bring good money. But I found a pop-up book on how babies are born, and how a baby develops in the womb. And it had all these gorgeous pop-ups of, the fetus in the uterus and all of that stuff. But very detailed, very elaborate book. And I can't remember how much that sold for. I want to say $75 or something crazy like that. But the pop-ups can be really amazing to look for.
Yeah. I mean, they're because they're so expensive to make.
Yes.
And they're not as common as just regular books, but I sold one, it was $30. So, and it cost me $1. So that works for me.
Absolutely.
Now the collections, do you find them all together, or do you kind of put them aside and wait till you find a whole set?
Typically, no. Every once in a while, I will find the entire collection. I think one of the authors that I saw all the time, I did find the entire collection at the thrift store and was like, what's this? And it was in a tub, and it had the whole series of books, and the whole tub they were only asking $5.99 for. But the series, if you have the whole collection, you can sell for over $100. So of course I scooped that up and then started learning more about that author and the book series. It's Jane Belk Moncure. If anybody wants to look it up, she did an alphabet series. So it's my A book, my B book, and it goes all the way from A to Z. And then she also has a number series. But she's done a bunch of different series for children, and they're great sellers, and people look for them. So I started looking for those books everywhere I went, because like you said, the kids' books are always really cheap, but you do have to look them over because they might be scribbled in and, might have juice spilled on them,
or make sure the pop-ups work, because like they're torn, or they're like, this one's, I saw one the other day, I was like, this one's too far gone. Some kid really loved this book because it was it was really in used condition.
But now I find them, I have tubs of the different book series that I sell, and I will just keep that tub waiting until I find all of the volumes. So it does take time and patience, but eventually, I found them over and over again. So I already have those listings created. Sometimes I just have to take a few new pictures to add to the listing,
right?
And then throw it back up on eBay and sell it again. So
yeah, that's great about this business, is once you've done it long enough, you start seeing the same things like, oh yeah, I sold that, and you just already know that it's going to sell. You don't have to look anything up.
Exactly. So I enjoy that. And it does take patience and time and floor space, because I've got tubs with books in them, but it's fun to find those and to sell them.
So back in the day when all this book selling started, did you use a scanning app then?
I did, but just on my phone.
Yeah.
I can't remember the one that I used to use.
Because I had the tool that it wasn't on your phone. It was a separate, like a gun looking thing that was a barcode scanner. And I never got that like fancy. A year. And it's funny because, that was probably 10 years ago, 2010-ish.
Right.
2011. And so I would go in there and scan every single thing. And there was other book scanners because, that's how you learn. But now I see people scanning like every single book. And it's like, the technology is only as smart as the person using it because
Right.
like I know to look for pop-up books. I know to look for metaphysical books. I know what to look for, so I don't have to do that anymore. And even though you scan it and you have to know how to interpret the information and it can change in 5 seconds. That
Yes.
price of that book can change. So if you can talk to that as a bookseller about people relying on all of these tools that quote tell you what to do, because that's not really the way it is.
Yeah. And you have to remember that little scanner in your hand, that there are thousands of other people that have the same scanner and they're scanning all the same stuff you are. So it's the same with, the Amazon sellers who are scanning stuff in Walmart. And I do sell some things from the clearance aisle at Walmart or Walgreens or wherever I happen to be shopping. I'll go take a swing through clearance and see what I can find.
Yeah.
But it's not a huge part of my business. It's $1 here or there that I've spent to make $1 here or there.
Yeah.
It's never big money. And it's because that stuff is so easy to find. Everybody's got Walgreens and Walmart in their area, and they're scanning the same stuff you are. And the same with books. Everybody's scanning the same stuff. And I think it does serve you well to learn a few categories that are good sellers. And for me, those are books in the religious aisle, religious reference books, concordances, Bible study books that take you through a specific book of the Bible. There's a lot of series that people look for. Bibles are consistently a great seller for me. And I think that's controversial for some people, but I am a religious person. I'm a Christian, and I'm an avid churchgoer. Bibles are expensive.
Yes, they are.
And so by selling them, and the Bibles that I sell, the vast majority, I'm selling well below the retail price. So if you were going to go buy a leather-bound Bible brand new, you're going to pay $100 for that. If I sell it on eBay to you for $40, then I've done a service for someone who wants to read the Bible, study the Bible. I've actually done them a service by selling them the Bible that they want and need at a bargain. So
and they're easy to see on the shelf because they're the leather bound ones that are tooled with like the red with the gold letters. I mean, they're easy to see. You don't have to look through every single book to find them.
Exactly. And when you're in an estate sale, there's usually several. So they're a great thing to pick up and to sell. And I sold a collectible one a couple of weeks ago. It was signed by Jimmy Swaggart.
Oh, wow.
So that is more of a collector, I think, who either follows Jimmy Swaggart or is interested in Jimmy Swaggart for some reason and wanted that particular Bible. So that one went for more money than I would normally sell a Bible for. But I enjoy selling them, and people are usually very thankful and very grateful to get them and happy with their purchase. So.
Yeah. Have you ever found anything interesting in a book?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. It's hilarious because
found an airline ticket. Fun. Like somebody was reading this book on their flight, and it was like from 1960 something, and I sold that. I was like, yes. Oh, this is ephemera. Somebody might want this, Pan Am, since they don't even exist anymore. So I sometimes will flip through the books just to see if there's anything that's stuck in there.
Absolutely. And all the I think my client that I've sold this huge book collection for, there were a lot of things in her books, and I actually had a whole box of stuff because some of them were personal family photos and things that she had used as a bookmarker. And I just made her a little box and said, I'll bring these to you because these were all inside your books. But I found gift cards. I found Bibles usually have a lot of prayer cards, and a Bible that I just bought last week at an estate sale has a lot of old Billy Graham ephemera. So I saved all of that. I may sell it too, but it's old. You can tell that it's from the 40s or 50s. So some of that may be valuable, and you may see in my eBay store. But interesting things people are using as bookmarks, concert tickets, gift cards, cash sometimes.
That's a good one.
I haven't found a lot of cash, but sometimes it'll be a $5 bill or something like that. Gum wrappers.
I find those a lot too. So that's interesting. When I was doing all those books, not all of them were new from Borders. They were, and then I had my own business, but it was like a second treasure hunt when you get home. The gift that keeps on giving. What's in here? Like pockets of a coat, where mostly it's tissues and gum wrappers, but sometimes there's some jewelry in there. You just never know what you're going to find.
Right.
Yeah.
The treasure hunt continues.
Yeah, it never stops. So do you routinely go over to your mom's house and kind of shop around, or do you wait for her to give you stuff?
We do. She's funny. She will send me, my mom just has a little flip phone, but she'll take a picture, often a fuzzy little picture, and send it to me. Is this any good? But she's cleaning out a closet, or she's at a thrift store and is looking, for entertainment. She'll send me pictures of things she's found. But she does. Every time I go over, she usually has a few bags or a little pile of things that she wants me to go through and see if it's stuff I can sell. I generally take everything she gives to me to help her, to get it out of her way. And there's always some good stuff in there. The last pile that I got from her had 3 quilts and then some old blankets. Old acrylic blankets with the satin trim are very sought after on eBay and on Etsy. People love them. They're just those old, and I think they're gross. I don't like them, but people love to buy them. And so I've sold those, and she had several in her house. And then the quilts, and I just sold one of the quilts over the weekend on Etsy. So it's fun. You never know what you're going to, it's just like a store over there. So
yeah. Well, I think I'm going to title this podcast, My Mom's House is Like an Archaeological Dig, because if you don't mind, because I just think that would apply to so many people. And when you look at it like that, the junk it just looks like junk to the untrained eye, but we're trained, we know what to look for. And if you kind of approach it that way, instead of just, this house is full of junk. No, it's treasures.
Yes. She absolutely has a lot of treasure, and it's super fun to go through. And sometimes you'll unearth something from your childhood, and that's fun too.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I bet. Well, I'm so glad that she's on board with, contributing to your business and supporting you on that, because so many family members just don't get it.
Right.
And they're like, why are you doing that? And you said you have 3,600 items.
Yes.
Listed. So is that all in one place, like all in your basement, or is it kind of everywhere?
Most of my inventory is in my garage. We have a large garage, and but I also have things in the house. A lot of my fragile things are in the house, and we have a lot of built-ins in our house. So one extra bedroom has a lot of inventory in it from my consignment clients. I like to keep their stuff completely separate from my own.
Yeah.
And a lot of the smaller things that I sell are here in my office all around me. I've got shelving, and I like my things to be put up and sort of hidden. So they're in drawers and cabinets and things like that. So
I do the same thing. My CPA told me, she said, store stuff in every room, then you can write that square footage off on your home business
Yes.
expense. And so I have like the tall kitchen cabinets, the ones way at the top that you never put anything in anyway. I've got some breakables up there, and I've got some under bed storage. And so it's like, you're not lying, you do have your business in every room, but you don't have to see it.
It's true. That's a good accountant. Mine is the same way. And I, for years, was not taking all the home office deductions that I could have been taking until he started talking to me about, the square footage in the garage, and the garage is, now we have air conditioning out there because it's hot. It's Texas.
Right.
But I do my packing in the garage too. And, we're paying to heat and cool and have lights out there. So we claim the garage too. So it's wonderful.
That was my next question, knowing that you're in Texas, and how hot it gets in the garage. I had a student one time, a coaching client that was in Florida, and he bought all this, either wholesale or something about makeup. It was all this lipstick and just all this cosmetic stuff and he put it in his garage. And then we got on our session one week, and he's like, yeah, it was 100 and something degrees and all that stuff melted. And it was a complete waste.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. So, putting in air conditioning is a wise move, because even paper, ephemera, if it gets too hot, it decomposes faster, disintegrates, whatever you want to say. Having it climate controlled is going to protect your inventory and extend the life of it, because all kinds of things can happen with heat, and bugs get in it and all that.
Yes. And we kind of live in the country too. So, everything has to be in a sealed tub or a box with a lid. I do have some hard goods that are in boxes that don't have lids, but that's just so I can get to them easier. But we have critters out in the country, so it's a constant battle to keep spiders and scorpions.
If a mouse gets in there and figures it out and has babies, and then it's just everywhere. Yeah, that's just gross. So anyway, well, we have covered a lot of ground. As we wrap it up, do you have any wise words for people just getting into this? Like things maybe you wish you had done differently, or just some advice?
I think my advice is just to always keep learning. That's the fun thing for me, but I think your business only gets better the more you learn, the more you grow. Once you learn one thing and kind of master that, you can move on to the next. But don't be afraid to just take small steps, small goals. When I was deep into my darkest time in my life after losing my daughter, my therapist had said to me, give yourself very tiny goals. And maybe your goal one day was just to take a shower and put on real clothes and not be in your pajamas all day.
Right.
But with your eBay business too, you can give yourself very small goals. I'm going to do 2 listings today. Tomorrow I'm going to do 3 listings, and you will be amazed at how accomplished you feel giving yourself those tiny goals and accomplishing them. I built a store that has 3,600 listings, doing that every day, saying, I'm going to do 10 listings today. And pretty much without fail, I do at least 10 listings a day. But during that dark time, sometimes it was 1 or 2, and that still moved me forward. I was still taking steps forward. And I think there's so much pressure because people on YouTube or other resellers you'll see that have warehouses and all the staff and people that they're employing to do, with virtual assistants and in-person people coming over to take pictures or help them process inventory. You kind of get overwhelmed thinking, wow, I'm never going to be that big or that have a big store. But you can build it one item at a time, all by yourself. I'm living proof of that. I don't have anybody working for me and never have.
Were you in human resources in your corporate job? Am I
No,
remembering
corporate
that?
communications, corporate
Okay.
communications.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've
Okay.
had big teams, but my eBay business is just me.
And don't
And
you love that now? It's just
I
like,
love it.
I was talking to my daughter the other day, and I'm not an early riser. I get up, I'll say 7:30 to 9. But one of the best part of my day is I wake up and I just kind of lay there for 10 minutes and say, I am so thankful that I don't have to be anywhere. I don't have
Right.
to get up at a certain time. I don't have to get up when it's dark. I don't have to go be around people that I don't want to be around, or that follow all these rules that make no sense to me. And I just lay in bed and, oh, I'm so comfortable. This is so wonderful. I can do whatever I want to do today. And it's just, managing people is very stressful and
It
energetically
is.
draining. And it's just, and then you have a family on top of that. And it's just, I've had the big business with up to 12 people working for me just in all
Right.
areas. And it got to be where it wasn't fun.
Right.
I was busy putting out fires all day. And I have a smaller store, and that's fine. So, but do you feel that too after having been in the corporate world?
Absolutely. That's, owning your time. I think it's, Ryan and Jay from Scavenger Life. That's what they
Yeah.
always talk
Yeah.
about, is
Uh-huh.
owning your time. And I love that my time is my own. There may come a day when I when I do want to employ somebody and get some help, but right now it's just me, and that's okay. That's just fine.
But you
It's
can do that
working.
on your terms. You can be like,
Yeah,
it's getting tedious to take pictures, and I'd really like to give that to someone else. And you can
exactly.
do it in small steps. One thing with the size of your store, now people are going to want to know, like, how many items do you sell a day? Do you have an average uh, sales velocity that you see with that many items?
This year has been weird, but
Mm-hmm.
I'd say typically it's 5 to 7 items a day
Mm-hmm.
on eBay. And eBay is my primary platform, but I do sell on 4 other platforms.
Okay.
And so I'll get a sprinkling of sales there as well. But 5 to 7 items a day, usually 35 to 45 items a week
Mm-hmm.
selling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about what I do. And I sell probably between, and this year has been weird. It's been a lot slower in
Mm-hmm.
2021 than it usually is, but typically I sell about 5,000 a month. And
Oh, great.
it has been as high as 10,000 a month, which was fantastic, but not this year. So
Well, and
for
what I'm
whatever reason.
noticing, even with my store with maybe a tenth of what you have, is I'm having more days of no sales at all.
Yeah,
But
which is
then
so
it'll
strange.
it'll come, and then I'll have 8 sales the next day. And I don't know if this is that, rolling blackouts they talk about, or there's another word for it. Um, but I have no explanation for that, because people want like a number, like, if I have 1,000 items, I'm going to sell 5 a day, and it just doesn't work like that.
No, and it's so unpredictable. This week, in fact, Sunday, I I had a day of over almost $600 in sales on
Wow.
eBay. On Sunday, Monday, yesterday, I sold one item for $10.
Mhm.
So I don't understand that. It's just weird
And I
that
don't
that
think you can explain it, because there's just too
no.
many variables. It's like, oh, well, people are getting stimulus checks. That's why sales are happening. Oh, well, it's because it's Labor Day weekend and everyone's out having a barbecue with their family. It's like, I don't think you can make these assumptions.
No. Yeah, it's strange. It's very weird.
But yeah, that's
Weird and
it.
wonderful.
It sounds like you're moving along at a pretty a good pace with,
Mhm.
at least some sales a day. I think people just get way too caught up in the analytics, and a lot of them that I've worked with come from a corporate background where you have to pay attention to these reports. You have to look at, oh, our first quarter sales were this, and why did that happen? And it's just like having a garage sale. It's, sometimes a whole bunch of people come and then you have 2 hours where there's nobody there. So it's kind of the same
Exactly.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And the numbers part has never been my strength. So I wish I could, of course, I like everybody else, I want to make more money and sell more higher priced items. But I haven't perfected. I don't understand the science behind it, why you get more some days and some days it's way less. So.
But the fact that you manage that many listings and you're making money and it's been consistent over all these years, that's the piece you need to look at.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, wow, we've been talking a long time. So again, the name of your store is
OP Books and Treasures.
And Suzanne posts pretty frequently on the Money Making Mondays and $100 sales threads. So you can check out her sales. But this was delightful. We met
It was fun.
in 2017 when my daughter and I came to Dallas for a workshop.
Yeah.
And we spent the day together doing that. And it was so nice to meet you in person finally. So
I know.
Maybe you can come to Atlanta at some time and I can entertain you.
Oh, that would be so fun. I would love it.
Okay. Well, thanks again for spending this time with us. And we will see you on the group.
Thank you. That was so fun.
Thanks. That was so fun. I love having guests on my podcast, and I've got several more lined up. So make sure you tune in again. And it's not always just me droning on about eBay the right way. I'm going to spice it up with some different personalities so we can all learn from each other. Thanks again for spending your time with me during this sort of long episode. I know you have lots of choices, lots of other podcasts to listen to, and I'm really honored that you come back every week to listen to this one. Have a profitable and productive day on eBay. Talk to you next week. Bye.